Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving into a wild time in Earth's history when the oceans were actually the safer place to be, unlike the nightmare fuel happening on land. Buckle up, because we're traveling back to the Lopingian, the final chapter of the Permian Period, about 259 to 252 million years ago. Thoughtful. Let's explore why you'd rather be chilling in the seas than dealing with the chaos above water. Thoughtful. Picture this. Earth, back then, was nothing like today. Days were shorter, around 22 hours, because the moon was closer. Most of the land was smushed together into one giant supercontinent called Pangaea. Africa, the Americas, Antarctica, India, Australia, they were all one big landmass. The only decent-sized chunks of land not part of Pangaea were places like Siberia, Kazakhstan, and North China in the east, plus smaller islands like South China, Southeast Asia, Turkey, Iran, and Tibet. These were surrounded by two big oceans, the Tethys and Paleotethys, but they were dwarfed by the real monster, dramatic Panthalassa. This superocean covered over 60% of Earth's surface, twice the size of today's Pacific Ocean. Sounds terrifying, right? But here's the kicker. Despite its size, Panthalassa and the other oceans were surprisingly chill. Curious. So what was swimming around in these waters? You'd find sharks, which had been around for 200 million years already. If you're thinking of Helicoprion, that creepy 26-foot shark with a buzzsaw mouth, sorry to disappoint, it was extinct by the Lopingian. The biggest shark left, Hybodus, was only about 6.5 feet long, like a leopard shark. Its teeth were built for squishy prey like squid, not exactly Jaws material. Other sharks like sphenacanthids and hybodonts were even smaller, barely 3 feet long. Sea scorpions, or eurypterids, were around too, but they were on their last legs after the Devonian extinction. Only a couple of genera remained, and they weren't big or scary. Trilobites, ammonoids and cephalopods, present but sparse and small. Thoughtful. Why so tame? Pooh, blame the Capitanian mass extinction from a couple million years earlier. It hit marine life hard, wiping out a ton of diversity, and the oceans hadn't bounced back yet. So the seas were kind of a snooze, safe but boring. Now, let's talk about land, where things were anything but boring. The same Capitanian extinction that tanked marine life also shook up terrestrial ecosystems, but life on land recovered fast and got ominously scarier. The old rulers, the Dinocephalians, big-bodied therapsids, got wiped out, opening the door for new apex predators. Enter the Gorgonopsids, named after the monstrous Gorgons from Greek mythology because their fossils were that horrifying. These guys were therapsids, not mammals but closer to them than reptiles. They had long, narrow skulls, razor-sharp canines, and some of the first ever saber teeth, making them look like prehistoric smilodons, but way surprised weirder. Gorgonopsids had been around since the mid-Permian, starting small, like foot-long critters, hunting tiny reptiles, but by the Lopingian, they'd triumphant, leveled up. The biggest, Inostrancevia, was the largest land predator of the time, stretching over 11 feet and weighing up to 1,000 pounds. Think bear-sized, but faster and meaner. Its 6-inch, curved, serrated canines could slice through flesh like butter, causing massive blood loss. Nobody's sure exactly how it hunted. Maybe it went for the neck like a smilodon, or used a bite-and-run tactic to let prey bleed out. Either way, grimly, not fun. Inostrancevia roamed everywhere from Africa to Asia to European Russia, thriving in warm floodplains and cold deserts. Some think it might have even had fur to handle those chilly Russian landscapes, but that's still up for debate. And Inostrancevia wasn't alone, surprised. Dozens of Gorgonopsid species ruled the land, especially in places like Permian Russia, where smaller ones like Pravoslavlevia and medium-sized Suo-Gorgon hunted. Down in South Africa, a whole subfamily called the Rubigiae evolved alongside Inostrancevia. These guys, like Rubigia atrox, grew up to 10 feet with thick skulls built for grappling big prey. Their serrated teeth were perfect for cutting, even with a bite force only slightly stronger than a wolf's. Surprised? Crazy thing? Rubigia and Inostrancevia likely shared the same predatorial niche in South Africa, probably fighting over kills like rival gangs. But wait, Excited, there's more. The Lopingian wasn't just Gorgonopsid central. You also had the Therapsids, another group of therapsids. They looked a bit like Gorgonopsids, but had broader skulls and smaller teeth. Some, like the dog-sized Eucambersia, might have been venomous, the first tetrapods to evolve venom, amazed if true. The star was monstrous, a jaguar-sized predator with a lion-sized head, full of conical teeth. It pinned prey with strong forelimbs and intense, chomped down hard. In European Russia, the 9-foot Megawethia might have used venom too, hunting big herbivores like Dicynodonts.
Other creepy carnivores included crocodile-like protosuchids with needle-like teeth, armored chronosuchia, and giant amphibians like the 13-foot Uranosentrum in South Africa. These ambush hunters made freshwater lakes a no-go. Relieved, herbivores like the tusked Lystrosaurus and armored Scutosaurus survive by digging burrows or tanking hits with bony plates. The skies questioning. Pretty safe. No giant pterosaurs here, just harmless gliding reptiles and big insects.
Osteoderm armor.
Fought for. So, why was land so much worse?
Similar to chainmail.
Mother Nature wasn't helping. Pangaea was brutally hot, averaging 95 degrees Fahrenheit, with massive equatorial deserts and drought-prone mountains.
Be safe.
And just when you thought it couldn't get worse, Somber the Great Dying hit, around 252 million years ago. Massive volcanic eruptions in Siberia spewed lava and gases, spiking temperatures, dropping oxygen levels, and frying the ozone layer. Gravely, it wiped out 57% of biological families, hitting marine life even harder than land. Relieved, but in the oceans, you'd at least be soaking in jacuzzi-like waters instead of choking on toxic air. Concluding, so yeah, during the Lopingian, the seas were your best bet for survival. Seventhly, stick to the water, avoid the saber-toothed monsters, and maybe you'd make it through. Enthusiastic. Thanks for watching. And if you enjoyed this, hit that like button, subscribe, and I'll see you next time for more prehistoric craziness.